Welcome to the Heroic Barbell Podcast, where we teach you how to be the best version of yourself through strength training, biblical wisdom, and living a heroic lifestyle. Welcome back to the Heroic Barbell Podcast. This is Andrew Tarrence speaking. I'm back with my co-host, Cary Rock, and today we have our special guest, my good friend, Malcom Dias. Or is it Dias?
Dias.
Okay.
Dias.
Because, let's just get the ball rolling. Back in college when we met, you told everyone it was Diaz.
That's because not a lot of people knew how to pronounce it. Dias, so I just gave up. I went with a trend, Diaz. It changed my last name, but then I got tired of it, so I went back to how it actually is supposed to be pronounced, Dias.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
I can relate to that. I'm almost never called by my actual name.
Really?
It's Corey or Gary or...
Gary. Let's go with Gary.
Cary Roche.
I've used that one before.
All right, so we're just gonna talk about Malcom today since he's here with us, and
Malcom in the middle.
learn a little bit about him. That'd be a great title for this podcast, Malcom in the Middle.
No,
I like it.
No.
Too late?
Too much.
All right, so let's start with the basics. So, where did you grow up? You know, what was your family life like growing up? Where'd you live and all that good stuff.
Okay.
What was your early childhood like?
That's a very broad question. Questions, I should say.
Yeah.
Was born in Kuwait. Family was mixed Indian and Portuguese. Lived there for 18 years. Never called it home. Never will.
Why is that?
Because I was a foreigner living in a country with other foreigners.
Okay.
It makes sense if you actually went there.
Were you like in an area where a bunch of foreigners were,
No,
like
because
expats
in most countries, when you live in a certain country or you're born in a certain country,
right, you are always the outsider.
Well, let's take the U.S. for example. Mostly, if you're born in the U.S., whether illegally or legally, you end up becoming a citizen, or you end up being a citizen, you're a resident of that country.
Yeah.
For me, I was never a permanent resident. My family wasn't a permanent resident of that country ever, because Kuwait is a country of a lot of expats. So I want to say around 30 to 35% of the country is actually from Kuwait. And the rest of the people are foreigners working there who, when their work contract gets done, they're supposed to leave the country in 30 days, even if they've lived there their entire lives. For example, my dad worked there for 40-something years, was born in Kuwait. As soon as he retired, he's supposed to leave the country in 3 months, even though it's technically the only place he's lived in. So
where would he go to? I've always wondered about some of this situation, because it's I can understand, you're born in the United States, and politics aside, the thought being that you're an American citizen. Well, you might be there, legally in Kuwait, and you're not a Kuwaiti citizen. You're not a resident of Kuwait. Your passport's not Kuwait. Would your passport be, perhaps India or Portugal?
It would be, so when you... On your passport, when you look at it, there is a permanent address on it.
Right.
So that's technically your permanent place of residence, even though you've never even lived there. For example, mine. I have a permanent address where I've never actually lived. I've just been there on vacation.
And for you specifically, it's in India, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your dad is in India now, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes, my dad's in India right now. But yeah, I've been to my permanent address for a couple times, but never actually lived there. Been there on vacation for a couple weeks.
So in a legal sense, you would be, nationality wise, you would be Indian.
Yes.
In a passport. That's where my passport's from. So.
And this is interesting because, again, when I met him at school, people would always ask him where he was from, and he would say, instead of saying I'm from Kuwait, he would say I'm Portuguese Indian. And I'm like, that's not what people are asking, bro. And you know how I am. I would get mad at him. I'd be like, "Bro, what are you doing?
You
Tell
get
people
mad.
where you're from, not who
who
your
you
nationality is." Yeah, and but it's taken me time to realize that like that's why is because the culture that you grew up in, you're not considered Kuwaiti. You're considered Portuguese Indian.
Exactly.
So
I'm proud of you for finally understanding that.
it only took me 10 years.
Yep, 9 years.
Yeah,
that's okay.
How did you not like break his neck sometimes?
We got into some fights.
I gave him a look the other
Sometimes.
day. You know, so we filmed a goofy video of how to you fail a bench. You know, how do you get out from it?
I watched that.
And he said, that look I gave him, it's supposed to be that I'm going to kill you now. Why did you do
Yeah.
that? Last time I was here, I actually gave him the look of I'm going to break your neck. Or it's maybe not like I'm going to do it, but your neck is going to get broken, and I'm going to be there to see it.
Yeah. So
you laughed because you knew nothing was going to happen. But
well, Malcolm's always been. It's not that Malcolm's a wimp. He's just very non-confrontational.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
I certainly wouldn't have phrased it like that.
Wow. I'd rather not get beaten up by guys who are bigger than me, even though I may be stronger than them. Just not get beaten up by guys who are bigger than me, because sometimes weight outweighs strength.
I've heard in martial arts, one of the biggest things to do is not fight a guy who's a lot bigger than you, just because you might be the black belt, 7th dan and all that jazz, but he still bigger than you, and that's its own advantage.
Yep.
He can just fall on you.
Just lay on you, and that'll be the end of your story.
Once you can get the twist and get him down below.
There's a fight between some like really small, like, I mean, he's not like skinny, but he's just short and normal width to his body Japanese dude fighting this like 600-pound black dude.
Yeah.
And
he's hitting the black dude.
That's all the black dude tries to do is like fall on him. And he tries and misses, and now he's 600 pounds on his stomach, ground. And the Japanese dude is wailing on his head, and he can't guard against it. So he's just done, and he taps out.
Yeah,
because he's 600 pounds. He's not getting up from that. He's not getting up off the floor without getting socked in the face at least 20 times.
That's why sumo is as formal as it is. It has to be. If it was an actual fight, it wouldn't.
Yeah. You grew up in Kuwait, and so what was your home life like?
That's a very broad question.
Yeah, you didn't ask me that question.
What's
you
my
didn't
home
ask me
like?
that.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
Asked you what your life was like growing up.
That's not my home life.
Huh?
Damn.
You gotta ask me specific questions, Andrew.
Specific questions? So, what was your dad like?
What was my
growing up? Yeah.
Strict. I had a very
Indian dad. Is your dad a typical Indian dad?
I wouldn't say so necessarily, because I had a very independent life growing up in a sense where, I remember having the keys to my house like when I was like maybe 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
I had my own set of keys. Sometimes, because I used to go and walk to the basketball courts by the beach. It was like a 30-minute walk, and I used to go at like 2 o'clock in the morning, ride my skateboard. And see, most people will be like, oh, yeah, that's not true. But yeah, I actually did that, and I used to go to the park at like 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning to go, because that's the only time when the parks were empty, and I could go do my jump workouts and all that. So I had my parents trusted me with a lot of things where I could go and I could do a lot of things with other kids were not allowed to do, I guess. Sleepovers at my friend's house whenever I wanted to, even if it's on a school night or whatever, I could do stuff like that. So I had a very independent life growing up, but my parents trusted me with a lot, and obviously they cared about me a lot, but they trusted me.
Mm-hmm.
which helped me a lot when I went to college, because you see a lot of times when kids go to college and they just go crazy their freshman year. I'm like, oh wow, it's alcohol. Wow, like,
I don't have them breathing down my neck. I can do whatever I want. Shots.
And I was like, it's just alcohol, man. What's the big deal? Or whatever.
You know what my version of that was when I got to college?
It's just weed, man. What's the big deal?
No, I've never tried weed.
Neither have I.
But it was little things like shaving a cross into the side of my head. And
okay,
that was probably the biggest one. That would have been even remotely considered risque.
Why would that be risque?
Oh, we went to the club. Did you go with us when we went to the club?
I'm sure I did.
I think because it was you, me, Ezra, and those two girls.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So went to the club once my freshman year and shaved a cross into the side of my head. That was my version of rebellion.
And Andrew slipped in the club and drifted into someone else dancing. And
Nice.
That was Ezra.
That was you.
How was it me?
That was you.
I remember Ezra. I thought it was Ezra because Ezra was doing like all these acrobatic kick flips and stuff while he was breakdancing.
I clearly remember you slipping into someone else.
Okay, I don't remember that part, but I'll believe you.
Well, we can ask Ezra the next time.
Yeah.
Next time we have a conversation with him.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I was wondering if your dad was like the Russell Peters version of Indian parent, or it's like, son, it's a fact. But
no.
Okay.
No, definitely not. Definitely had parents loved me a lot and sacrificed a lot for me, but also gave me freedom to do whatever I want. I mean, go to college halfway across the world. Trusted me with all that. Shoot, I went to a basketball camp halfway across the world for a week. So, I mean,
Where was that?
In Kentucky, actually. In
When?
Louisville, Kentucky in 2011.
2011. Wow.
It was a
okay.
5-star basketball camp which I probably shouldn't have gone to, because it was all the future professional basketball players and Division I players, and I was looking like a scrub.
I'm sure it only made you better at basketball, though, going.
Yes, it exposed all my flaws. So it made me better.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yes.
How long have you been here in the States?
9 years. 9.5 years.
Because the way you said Louisville was very interesting.
Louisville? Is that not how you say it over here?
That's how people from Kentucky say
Louisville.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Not Kentucky.
That's probably why.
He's from California.
Yeah. I'm from Southern California.
Orange City, California.
I'm going
right?
to say Louisville the proper way.
No, I'm not going to say that. They just say it the weird way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, so that's...
It just... You pick up the accent of a place that you consider home.
Yes. Of course.
Yeah, I can tell that your accent has changed a whole lot in the 9 years that you've been here.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
And you're still... I mean, it's obvious that you still have an accent of some kind.
I mean,
we all do have accents.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have an accent.
You have a.
Well, I'm talking about an accent that is not typical American.
Whatever.
It's crazy because when I go to different places, like when I live in Mississippi, people ask me like where I'm from or where I've lived. And I say I moved here from Indiana, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you sound like you have a Midwest accent." But they don't say that in the Midwest.
No, they're like, "Oh yeah, I moved here from Mississippi. Yeah, you sound a bit southern."
Yeah, and then
or from Kentucky because he moved from Kentucky to Indiana.
When I do go to Indianapolis or so, and I say a couple words, a couple phrases, and they're like, are you from the South? Because like there's a couple of things I say like y'all and Louisville and a couple of words which I blend together and make it sound Southern. And they ask me if I'm from the South, but in the South they don't think that I'm from the South. So, so
it's because you're really from neither.
Yes,
originally. So
and I'm always from a place because like I could go to any city, any country in the world, and I'm not considered from that place. So. So in a way, it works out because I can get really.
You can get away with a few things.
I can get away with a few things, and I can be comfortable wherever I am. So,
when you first came to school, undergrad, you told everyone you were from Texas. So
did I?
Yeah, you did.
I really don't remember that.
And you used to brag about it too.
I don't know. I don't remember that, man. I don't know why I would say that.
You used to brag about telling people from Kentucky that you were from Texas and then being like, really? And like believing you. It's like,
I think I was probably joking.
Oh, I know you were joking.
Yeah.
But it was still funny. What about your mom? What was she like growing up?
My mom worked 3 jobs at some point to get me through high school and college to pay for my fees. So she sacrificed a lot. She was very loving and caring, and she was sick for many, many years and spent a lot of the time trying to help people and caring for people. And yeah, she was the one who actually, I grew closer to God because of my mom, and my dad grew closer to God because of my mom. My sister grew closer to God because of my mom. So she definitely had a very much big impact in our lives. Yeah.
Okay. And then you have one sister?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about her.
Tell us about her. All right.
She's a Val.
Well, my sister Chloe lives in Toronto, Ontario. And she has a dog named Katniss, a German Shepherd dog.
Oh, wow.
My sister's 3 years older than me. We shared a room growing up. And, well, yeah, we shared a room growing up. And when she left to go to college, I got the room to myself, so I was really happy. And she's a great sister and sacrificed a lot for me as well growing up.
Okay. I'm curious what kind of sacrifices your sister made.
Yeah,
Not that I doubt anything, but that...
No, great question.
Because, your parents making sacrifices for you is one thing, but a lot of times siblings...
So my sister was going to go... When she graduated high school in Kuwait with me, well, before me, 3 years before me, she was actually going to go to Canada for a college, and it was expensive, but at the same time, I was going to transfer to another school for sports, which was a lot more expensive than the school I was in.
This is still in high school, right,
yes.
for you? Okay.
So it was a lot more expensive, and my sister ended up going, instead of going to Canada, ended up going to India for college, and where it was a lot more cheaper. That way, I could go to the high school that I wanted to, which was more expensive. So she sacrificed that for me. So I'll never forget that.
That is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned sports. So what sports did you play in high school?
I think growing up, I played a little bit of everything. Like, I played some rugby growing up. I played some American football growing up. I played some soccer. Played volleyball. Played volleyball 3 years in high school. Played basketball all 4 years in high school. And I ran track, I believe, 2 years in high school.
Okay.
And then I wanted to go to college I had this big dream of playing basketball and running track in college. So I wanted to find a college that would let me do both, and I actually ended up finding University of the Cumberlands in Kentucky somehow. And
somehow.
I played junior varsity basketball and ran track there my freshman year. And then after my first year, I realized, because I improved a lot in track, so I realized that I have a bigger potential in track, so I decided to just focus on track and ended up getting a scholarship my second year. And I transferred to Indiana Wesleyan University back then. That was in 2013.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually played junior varsity basketball together, and there were obviously a lot of memories made doing that. Some good, some not so good. But yeah, your main focus was track, because you were actually getting, even though it wasn't a full scholarship, you were actually getting some money at Cumberland's to run track, right?
No,
you weren't getting any.
I wasn't getting any money to play basketball or run track.
Right.
I was just getting
the only thing
free books.
Yeah, the only thing we got for playing basketball on the JV squad was our textbooks were free. They rent them out to us every semester, and we turn them in at the end. I mean, that's still a pretty big deal when you're talking about $1,000 to $1,500 worth of textbooks.
Especially his books, because he was a science major.
Yeah.
I was about to say, you guys are far more, overachievers in comparison to me. I just wanted a school that would take me.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you transferred to Indiana Wesleyan, which broke my heart because my best friend was leaving school.
Oh.
But you seemed to thrive a lot more there. In hindsight, you seemed to have thrived a lot more at Indiana Wesleyan for the rest of your college than you would have at Cumberland's. And like you said, you did get a scholarship to run.
Yeah.
So, what was your sprinting career like? What are some of your highlights as a sprinter?
I think some of my highlights is at the time and by the time I graduated, I had the indoor 60 meter, 200 meter record, and I was I guess a 4x400 meter relay record as well indoor, and then outdoor I had the open 400 record and the 4x100 meter relay record and the 4x400 meter relay record.
Nice.
As of right now,
and this is for the school, right?
The
school records.
School records.
Yes. Okay.
As of right now, I still hold 3 records as of right now. So that was probably some of the biggest achievements for me, and I got to compete at nationals 3 times indoor and then once outdoor. I still felt like I never reached my potential because I was always getting better every year, and because usually they say in track it takes up it might actually be in most sports, it takes about 10 years to reach your potential. And track is a sport very determined on your physical capability when in terms of running.
Like your genetics?
Your genetics.
Yeah.
So it takes they say about 8 to 10 years to reach your peak. And I was really only training for 4 years. So I felt like I had a couple more years to go. And
I see.
That kind of showed in terms of weightlifting. Right after college, I started trying to improve my bench press and my squat and all that. And they started going up by a lot, 5-10 pound improvements every single week, because I had not tapped into my potential yet. So I knew in track I had a lot more potential.
Right.
But it was a good career, and ended up getting a coaching job right after that in Indiana at a D3 school, and getting a job offer the year after that in 2016 to coach down in Mississippi.
Nice.
And that's where you are now.
That's where I am right now.
Yeah.
I'm going into my 5th year.
And how many Assistant Coach of the Year awards have you won?
I won 3 National Assistant Coaches of the Year.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And 6 Regional Coaches of the Year. So the National Coach of the Year, they do it twice a year. One for indoor, because it's 2 different seasons. The one for indoor season and one for outdoor season. So last year I had actually won the indoor and outdoor, and then this year, since we only had indoor season because of COVID, I had won the indoor this past year. So the national Coach of the Year is looked at, I think, about 330 schools or so, and the Regional Coach of the Year is looked at, I think, about 50 or 60 schools in the region. And it depends on the coaches that vote for you. Honestly, you could probably be really the worst school at nationals, and if all the coaches vote for you, you'd probably get the Coach of the Year. I think. I don't know.
And you coach the sprinters.
Yes, I coach all the sprints up from the 60 meters all the way to the 800 meters, because the 800 meter is technically considered a sprint too.
Okay.
And I coach the hurdles as well.
It's a wretched sprint.
It is.
So
it is.
That's a very aerobic sprint.
It's a very anaerobic sprint. That sucks.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to know anything about sprinting, this guy's probably a good guy to talk to. Then I'd say he knows what he's doing.
Ask me the questions on Instagram, Coach M Dias, not Diaz, Dias with an S.
But it's spelled like Diaz. It's spelled D-I-A-S.
Interesting enough, because the name is Portuguese, so actually in Portugal they actually pronounce it Dias with like a J.
Really?
Dias. But since it's like it's a Portuguese name, but was migrated to India, we pronounce it Dias.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Makes things less complicated to pronounce it Dias.
All right.
When no one speaks Portuguese.
So, tell us a little more about your spiritual testimony.
Spiritual testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you be more specific on that?
No.
Okay. Wow. I don't know where to start from, man.
I think he wants you to start from the beginning.
So, I was born.
At age 6, I was born without a face.
Well, I'll try to be as short as possible, if possible.
You don't look that short to me.
Thank you. Let's see. Well, I think it started with I grew up Catholic, and I believe my mom got a word from God to go to a different church, like a non-denominational church, and that's the time we moved churches, and I was still pretty young at the time. I believe when I was 13, I ended up going to a youth group conference. The only reason was because my friend was going and we used to skateboard together. So I wanted, and I used to skateboard too, if I didn't mention that.
Yeah. You mentioned skateboarding, but you didn't. It was in passing.
As I mentioned, I did a little bit of everything. So anyway, so I went to it, and the conference was really good, and that was the first time I felt like touched by God, and I'd given my life to Christ then back in 2006, November 13th, 2006. I remember the date. And ever since then, just trying to grow closer to God, and ups and downs and all that. And I think one of the biggest impacts in my life was when I was 17 and going into my senior year. And, a lot of things going on in your mind, where you're going to go to college, what you're going to do in life, and trying to pick a major.
I really thought you were going to say trying to pick a mate.
That too. Trying to find a girlfriend, praying for your girlfriend. But anyway, so going through a lot, back then, and I had a lot going on in my head that I had not talked to anyone about. And I'd actually end up going to another youth conference and with my friends, and I was praying one day. We were worshiping God. I was praying, and the pastor, who did not know me, he was actually a visiting pastor, came up to me and spoke to me directly from God and told me everything that was going on in my head, and that was on my heart too, and responded directly from God. And it was crazy because I had not talked to anyone about it. And actually, at that time, kind of rewinding a little bit, I was actually going through an injury too. I had a 9-month groin injury at the time, and I was doing all kinds of treatment and stuff for it, and nothing was working. I think I had to get surgery for it. So this night, when this pastor spoke to me, I cried a lot, and I prayed that night. And the next day, I woke up, and my groin injury had completely gone away. And it was crazy because my groin injury really affected me playing sports, and it hurt to cough, it hurt to do anything, hurt to walk, run, anything. So it had 100% healed, and I think that was a big impact in my life, just from God. And ever since then, every year has been challenges and struggles, because you're trying to figure out God, what are you doing, and then God answers your prayers at the time He wants to answer his prayers, because in His own time, and it's the right time. And ever since then, working at camps over the summer, and spreading the gospel to kids, and that's just had an impact in my life, and different people have had impacts in my life. Andrew's parents have had an impact in my life. I've spent so many. I don't even know how many times I've spent time at Andrew's house over Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, fall break.
Because you didn't have anywhere to go.
Right.
Because the dorms would just close.
Right.
Both you and Elvis, both of you being from Kuwait, would just...
You need a place to stay.
Yeah, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And it wasn't my house every year for both of them.
Yeah.
Either. But it was sporadically one or the other throughout college, so...
Yeah, and I think, you know, people like that have had so much impact in my life for the, you know, past couple years and months and weeks. And yeah, so just, you know, pushing myself to grow closer to God. And then the most important thing is, you know, spending time with God, listening, trying to listen. And, you know, it's not a religion, it's a relationship with God.
Tell us more about Beulah Beach.
Beulah Beach is a place to be. Put your God-given hands up and follow me.
Yeah.
That was one of the songs we sang. Yeah. But it played a huge impact in my life because we had I was a counsel on the road, so we would go.
So tell us exactly what Beulah Beach was first.
So Beulah Beach is a Christian kids camp.
Okay.
Long story short, it was on the beach, Lake Erie. It is on a beach at Lake Erie. So there were different types of camps. There were day camps, residential camps, and then what I did was a counselor on the road. So we would go, it was in Ohio, so we would go to different churches every single week, and we would set up camp, and we would try to make it as cheap as possible for parents to send their kids to us for 4 days from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and like $30 to $40 for the entire week. And it was a really cheap daycare and a fun daycare. Mm-hmm. And it was at a church, so the parents could trust us.
So it sounds like to me is Bible school, except most of the time when you think of Bible school, what you think of is vacation Bible school. Mm-hmm. You think of the church deciding this is a good week for us. We're going to put on a vacation Bible school this week, and the kids will come from, you know, sometime in the morning to sometime in the early afternoon for those 4 days. And, you know, we'll teach them about God and have fun. But the difference between this and your camp seems like that you would go and put on everything yourself, and you would schedule different churches for different weeks.
Right. So we like to describe it as VBS on steroids.
Nice.
Vacation Bible School on steroids.
Okay.
Because we would bring like stuff like a dunk tank, we would bring a rock wall, we would bring like the Gladiator big toys, and then in an 8-hour day, we would probably spend about 2.5 to 3 hours dancing. And some of the kids, well, about half the kids were like too cool to dance, you know, because they're all at that age.
Yeah, and it's also Ohio, so it's full of... I'm going to stop that sentence
I don't know where he's going with that, but... So we had a lot of kids. Some kids would dance. But when they saw their camp counselors going crazy and acting a fool, just dancing away, they would start to jump in, and we would make them feel as very comfortable because we were going crazy. So they were like, "Well, these college kids," because you know these kids look up to college kids because they're like, "I want to go to college one day." Mm-hmm. So they saw us going crazy, so they would start to jump in and. 99% of the time, by the end of the first day, we would have most of the kids dancing. So some of the weeks we would have like 200 plus kids, sometimes 100 kids, and each camp council had like maybe 8 to 12 kids to their own. And we would have different like things we did during the day. We danced, we taught them about God. We did like different sporting activities and all that. So we got to know a lot of the kids, and so every single week we had. A different set of kids, so it was really good just having a lot of impact on these kids, talking to them about your life, not just, you know, about God, but just talking about your life and just encouraging them. And some of them have actually kept in touch with me over email, because that was the only thing to do back then was email. It wasn't like we couldn't really add them on social media or anything because that was illegal. But they have actually kept in touch through email, so that was cool. But just having a lot of impact on those kids' lives, and I did it for 3 summers actually.
Was that while you were at Indiana Wesleyan?
Yes.
Okay.
It was actually I did one after my first year at Cumberland's. I found out, hey, there's such a thing as summer camp. Maybe I should go work at it. But it had a lot of impact in my life, discipling kids and getting to know them and talking to them about God, and had a lot of impact in my life personally.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You know, you've you've shown me over the years that you really do have a heart for service and ministry. Every time I come to visit you, you have some
Something
new guy.
going on.
You have some new guy in town, or somebody who you're like picking up to take to church, or to go in to get them food, or it can be anything. But you've been doing things like that for a long time now. It's very admirable that you do that stuff.
Well, I get it from my mom, and
yeah,
my mom had a huge impact in my life.
Last time I went to Malcolm's house, he had a new roommate, or housemate, I guess. He wasn't living in the same room, but there's this guy who was homeless but also blind that was living in town, and Malcolm and his housemates had apparently come together and said, "Hey, we've got this extra room. Let's let him live here to help him get back on his feet and figure out what he wants to do with his life," kind of thing. And they did, and so I met him last time. Super funny, charming guy, really.
Yeah, he's
so like, how many of you, and myself included, how many of you would let a homeless blind person from the street live in your house? So
I'm sure it wasn't like they just walked up and said, "Hey, dude."
No,
I mean, yeah, it's like you had.
I'd known him for about a year and a half previous to that, because he had been jumping around from apartment to apartment and not around people he couldn't trust and all that. And then at one point he was homeless. Well, a couple times he was homeless, actually. I was like, I've had enough of this. Come on, live on my. He was actually sleeping on our couch for a while, for about a month, and then we moved to another house, and that's when he was able to get a room. I mean, and he was paying rent and all that, so it wasn't like we're like, "Hey, you're living here for free" or something. But he was paying rent and all that. So
let's talk about training and weightlifting.
Okay.
What are some short-term goals that you have for lifting, and then what are some long-term goals that you have?
And they don't have to necessarily be realistic. Like the long-term goals, everyone needs something to shoot for.
He said he wanted to clean and press 500 pounds. So.
502, like Sergey Redding in 1970, whatever that was.
Yeah.
Okay. You can do it.
We will see.
Put your mind to it and just
stick with it.
Oh yeah.
Put on another 200 pounds.
Shoot up a whole bunch of steroids.
Yeah.
He was clean, most likely.
Yeah.
And he was just. Was probably just one of those gifted dudes.
Yeah. Well, goals for me, I think
short term first.
I have a lot of goals when it comes to like training. I love being, Andrew knows, I love being in the weight room. A lot of people lift. You have a lot of different types of lifters, and a lot of different types of lifters you'll see 5-6 days a week at the gym. I think Andrew's probably in the same spot as me, where we kind of stick out over there is because we love being in the gym, whether it's 2 hours or 3 hours, sometimes even 4 hours. I'm sure Andrew's been in the gym multiple times for 4 hours. I've been in the gym multiple times over 4 hours. I love being in the gym, so that's like a second home for me almost. I love training, working out, and all that. So I have a lot of different goals when it comes to training. I think some of the goals are, Andrew knows I like to do a lot of different types of things. I don't like to narrow my training. I like to have a very broad type of training. One of the goals right now, since I'm slowly coming back from a couple of different injuries in my lower body, I'm working on my bench press. I want to be able. My long-term goal is to bench press 315 pause rep.
Is that a long-term goal or a short-term goal?
Because
you're not that far from it right now.
I am not that far from it.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting closer to it.
Right.
Right now, I think 3 months ago, I bench pressed 285.
Nice.
And my next goal is to get 300. And it might take bench pressing 290 or 295 first, and then programming again for a couple weeks, and then getting 300. But
so what did you do on Friday? How much weight did you do?
On Friday, I did 245 times 6, but as I was telling Andrew, I really could have got that for 8.
Right. So an easy 245 for 6 reps. So I think based on that, if you just look at percentages, you're not far off from doing 315.
Right. It's still a lot more weight, but that's my next goal, as you said, as you asked. And I think besides the bench press, you know, I want to put on more muscle. I still want to be lean muscle. And
Malcolm's afraid to get fat.
I don't like getting fat. No, I want to be athletic, and I want to be able to play any sport at the same time getting strong. And if it takes a long time to get strong that way, that's okay. But besides that, I played basketball, so a lot. I love jumping. I love jumping over boxes and hurdles and all that. So the last time I checked my jump was at 37 inches, and it's probably at 34 right now, I would think. So
now, is this you jumping onto a 37-inch box, or is this your actual vertical?
A standing vertical jump.
Okay.
Standing vertical.
That's really good.
Jump. So
it's insanely good.
My next goal would be to get 40 inches because I want to be able to dunk again. I have dunked a couple times, mostly off a pass. I have dunked once by myself, and it was no one got video feed of that.
Oh my goodness!
So I gotta prove everyone wrong that I was able to do that. So no, but I just want to dunk. That's always been a goal of mine for years and years since I was a kid. I want to be able to just go out there and dunk, and because that one time I did dunk after a basketball game, the feeling when people watch me do that, I was just in another world.
Yeah.
Flying that high up and just dunking was amazing. So I just want to be able to do that. So that's another goal of mine, and I will have goals again as soon as I recover to be able to squat big again and deadlift big again. And I want to do more powerlifting meets, but I got to get healthy first.
Yeah, you did a powerlifting meet in, what year was that? Was that 2018?
That was last year.
Okay, so 2019. May 2019 specifically is when it was, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I actually, quote, unquote, coached you during that powerlifting meet.
You coached me.
And it's more like I declared myself your coach and then...
bossed him around.
Kind of, yeah.
Let's just say you surprised me on the deadlift weight. I said, whatever weight you want to put on over there, just go ahead and put it on. I'll go lift it.
405 pounds later.
I actually did end up lifting it. It didn't count, but I lifted it.
Yeah, so what happened was he lifted it, but he lost balance and started falling backwards a little bit.
Oh.
He caught himself, but the guy spotting him, they have a back spotter on the deadlift, so he had to go like this. And I don't know if he ever even touched him or not.
He didn't touch me.
Yeah,
but the fact that he raised it was enough that somebody thought to call it.
The reason they didn't count it was because the bar went down a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I did lose balance because I almost passed out, but no one touched me or helped me. I ended up getting the weight up. It just didn't count.
You are a stronger deadlifter than you think.
Yeah, because I never really trained for deadlift.
Yeah,
I got 485 right off the bat.
Right. So
I definitely think 485.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I know that if I knew how to deadlift and actually trained, I could get well over 500.
Yeah. You just got to get that lower body healthy. Yes. You got to let me teach you how to deadlift.
Yeah. I have been letting you teach me how to deadlift.
Yeah, you let me teach you the form a few times, but you've never. The problem is you've never trained the deadlift for one period of time long enough for it to really matter.
Muscle memory.
Yeah. You squatted
at the meet
385. 385?
Yes.
You went for 405. This is your first powerlifting meet, just so everyone knows. You went for 385 and got it. You went for 405 twice, missed both times. During the meet, I remember you saying that you were having trouble getting your breath while trying to squat. Mm-hmm. So that may have played a little bit of a part in it. I think under some different circumstances, you would have had 405 that day.
Yes, because I did do the week before. I did do 400 times 1, and I got it up pretty easily. Yeah. So I definitely know that I could have gotten over 400. I think the biggest thing was being nervous. I was a little bit out of breath. Mm-hmm. And obviously being out of breath, you're not going to be able to hold your core pretty tight when you're going down to squat. So I think that was the biggest thing. But it was a lot of fun. I love the atmosphere. So if you don't powerlift, I definitely recommend trying to get into it, and you will love the community you get from powerlifting. Don't do CrossFit. You love the community you get from powerlifting, and get your body a lot stronger. Just make sure you're using right form, so you don't get hurt.
Do you remember what you benched that day?
I did 267.5.
Okay.
I have done that year. I did do 280. I think I failed at 275 though. I wasn't able to get it.
Yeah, I think you failed your last lift on the bench press. Yeah. I just didn't remember what weight it was.
I've changed my form quite a bit since then, so I'm confident the next time I go in, which I am considering doing the one in May 2021. Yeah. Which is, I don't know, 8 months from now. So I am considering doing that, and I would like to open up with almost 300 pounds on the bench press.
Awesome.
So I'm getting there. I got a couple months.
I will go ahead and say this, that if it were up to me, your goal for the next meet you do is to go 9 for 9. To not miss any lifts.
Right. So, right, for sure.
Because you need that. Ideally, your first meet would have been 9 for 9. But at least my role that I played in picking his attempts, I probably pushed you too far on several of them, which is why you missed as many as you did. But yeah, the next meet, your goal should be to not miss any lifts.
That's okay. I need to be pushed. I need to be pushed. So.
The most interesting thing about his first meet was that he actually won it in his weight class.
Nice.
So
because I was the only one.
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it. Yeah, still, that's a gold medal.
Class. It is a gold medal.
And you still had to lift to earn it. So
that's right. It was a lot of fun, for sure.
We also thought you were competing against a couple different people in the same weight class as you.
Right. So I was technically trying to compete with them and beat them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if I was competing with them.
Yeah. I think they both ended up coming in too heavy. So they had to go up a weight class.
Really sucks.
Yeah. So
saved by the weighing scale.
I remember trying to get you to eat a bunch of Pop-Tarts and stuff after you weighed in that morning. Yeah.
Yep. You made me eat
got a carbo load, man.
So I had a little power belly when I was lifting, and you could see it through through my suit, but that's okay.
That was also the first time you wore knee sleeves, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't? Okay.
It wasn't.
Okay, so you're gonna bench press 315, and you're gonna try to get your vertical jump up to where you can dunk a basketball.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else?
I definitely want to continue to have a more muscular figure, I guess. And I've gained a lot of muscle in the past couple months, I would say. Really, in the past 2 months, I've gained a lot of muscle. It is possible to do a lot of different things at once if you're doing it correctly. It's possible to get stronger. It's possible to gain muscle. It's possible to lose fat. All at the same time.
You taking notes?
Making sure that you do it correctly and eating the right food, and but obviously you're not gonna go crazy in one of the categories because you're trying to do a lot of things at once.
Right.
But it's possible to do it, and the diet plays a big role in making sure that you do a lot of interval training after some of your lifts is going to help you, take care of the health of your heart, and keep your weight down too, which is a goal, is to stay healthy when working out. So
my personal opinion is that the only people who can actually put muscle on and lose fat at the same time are people who are new to the weightlifting game. So a person who's untrained, let's say, and is obese, they are going to be able to lose a lot of weight while also putting on a lot of muscle, because just the fact that they're overweight, they're already in a caloric surplus. So they have the fuel to build the muscle as they train, and it's not going to take much for that muscle to pack on because they're new.
I think it's basically if you're above your natural weight, if you will, you can, if you're above it and you're not fully muscled, if you will, as according to what your genetics will allow, you can still lose weight and you can still gain muscle regardless of where you are, if you will, in that journey. But you have to be above that and below the other.
Right.
And if you're not there, it's not going to happen.
I do want to say this, though. I was actually all the way up to 188 at some point in the past 1 month. And I'm down to like 181, 182 right now. I kind of fluctuated between 183, 184, but I'm down to 181 right now. And I have been getting stronger while putting on more muscle. And when I first started doing it, I was doing it all wrong. I was trying to limit my diet, and I was trying to eat certain foods and all that, which is great. But I've gone back to eating whatever the heck I want to eat, whenever I want to eat. If anything, I'm eating a lot more calories than I was earlier this summer.
But it's also not stuff like Pop-Tarts and Oreos either.
Sometimes I do eat a lot of. I eat a lot of fried chicken. I eat a lot of chicken wings. But then on days where I know that I'm not lifting heavy or anything, I may like try to control it and try to eat healthy those days. What I'm trying to say is, it's possible to still eat the food that you want to eat.
Yeah.
But make sure that you're doing the right type of training to make sure that you burn those calories off. And you can still get stronger and gain muscle at the same time. So it is possible. You just got to make sure that you're programming right. That's why it's important to have a good coach.
It's also important to realize that for one thing, you're eating what you want, but you also, right now, you have the restriction of, you said you're trying to eat vegan or vegetarian when you can. You do still eat meat. It's not like you've gone cold turkey on eating meat, but it's you are limiting that. You're trying to watch how much meat you eat. But, and so when you say that you're eating whatever you want, because I've seen the way you eat, and you make like eggs you make like an omelet or a scrambled omelet with like eggs and maybe a little bit of bacon or some turkey and some peppers. You have toast with peanut butter or honey on it. When I eat whatever I want, and this is why I'm as big as I am, when I eat whatever I want, it's not one, but two burger combos from fast food with ice cream.
Well, you've hopefully stopped that.
Yeah, I have. I'm on a diet, guys. We'll talk about that in another podcast.
To me,
probably,
two burgers is fine. It's the ice cream that's pulling you down.
The fries.
Shoot, not even the fries. The
and
ice
the Coke,
cream.
the large Coke.
Yes, the Coke, the Coke, and the Coke and the ice cream is probably.
If it was just the burger and fries.
Because there's days on, I've talked to you about the nights before I lift heavy, I go all out and I eat like crazy.
Yes,
and that means.
Well, it also helps if you cook it yourself.
Well, I end up going to Popeyes.
Yeah, he goes to Popeyes and gets fried chicken.
On one meal, I spend about
$25
$25 at Popeyes at a fast food place, and I buy 8-piece chicken. I buy 2 meals and a lot of large fries, and I eat all of that the night before. And the next day, it's like I didn't even eat any of that stuff. And it's not because I have the genetics for it, because I gained a lot of weight over the summer when I was doing that. It's because I've been doing a lot of like sprint training after lifting weights, and that's helped me like keep my weight down. So I do go crazy, but I think the important thing is also don't go too crazy,
right?
And eat a lot of ice cream and Coke, because don't need all that.
To continue what I was saying is it's the double combo. It's if I do decide to have ice cream as a dessert later on, it's a fourth of a gallon of ice cream at one time, or worse, a half gallon. If it's pizza, it's an entire large pizza in one sitting with a stuffed crust and 5 different meats on top of it.
I couldn't even eat a quart of ice cream.
So it's a genetic thing, dude. I swear, my dad is the same way. He could eat a pail of ice cream and not blink an eye.
Could eat a pail of meat, and not blink an eye.
Yeah,
can't eat a pail of ice
I think
cream.
with stuff like that, especially something when you mentioned pizza. Pizza has so much bread in it, so when you eat it, it just like, I feel like it just expands in your body.
Probably, yeah.
So I feel like stuff like that is definitely going to take a toll on you, because I love pizza, but I've been actually trying to stay away from that, because I know I'll just put on so much weight after eating. I'll probably put on 4 pounds in one day eating pizza. Because if I buy pizza, I'll eat the full pizza, as Andrew said. And so I feel like stuff like chicken wings and fried chicken, yes, it's got like a lot of fat and carbs in it.
You can eat 2 fried chicken breasts and you're good. Or less, It doesn't take a lot of fried chicken to fill you up.
Right.
Because it's still very protein heavy. It just tastes a lot better.
And yours actually, you're actually on a good point. Eating stuff, if you want to eat whatever you want to eat stuff high, not every day. I don't recommend it every day. But eat stuff high on fat and protein. It's going to get you full because the
Yep.
carbs is going to just take a toll on your body weight.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
It's my understanding is that it's one or the other. You need the protein, and if you're going to pick the carb, your lifestyle needs to support it. Sprinting, running.
I think he's specifically saying for satiation sake.
Yeah, and fat tends to satiate longer.
Fat and protein make you feel fuller longer than carbs do.
And protein.
So I don't actually recommend this totally because like I know the keto diet is not very healthy to do, but on days like when you want to eat whatever you want to do, yes, try to eat something high in fat and protein, but don't do it like 2-3 days in a row. Like do it like maybe twice a week or something, or once a week, but don't do it every day because I definitely don't recommend that.
Or how would you feel if someone wanted to eat whatever they were going to eat and they wanted to do something that's high in fat and carbs and fat.
Well, it also depends on the
and
carb,
the proteins too. And the proteins just whatever.
What's an example of that?
Pizza is a great example of that. We actually calculated the macros on one of my pizzas, and it was like 200 grams of fat and like 800 grams of carbs or something like that for the whole pizza.
It's absolutely abominable.
Yeah, it's bad.
All I gotta say is you better plan on working out.
Ice cream is another great example because it's just sugar. It's literally just sugar and fat.
Well, yeah, but that falls into if you want to talk about bad carbs, that's just all bad carbs.
Yeah,
pizza and ice cream.
Right,
and dairy tends to bloat you up. I don't know who. I don't care who you are. Dairy tends to bloat you up. The way dairy is like processed and stuff these days. Oh man, if you want to eat a whole pizza, you better plan on waking up the next morning without a breakfast and going and working out on an empty stomach. So that'll help you burn. What is it called? Faster workouts. That's going to help you, burn a lot of calories. That's also a good way. Also, I actually did do that earlier this year. I used to do a lot of faster workouts, and it didn't help me with strength training. I'm not doing it.
It kind of wrecks it. Kind of just stops that.
But it did help me lose a lot of fat, and I would just work out first thing in the morning and felt great. Actually, a lot of energy. Actually, gave me a lot of energy throughout my day. But
numbers aren't going up, but the weight's coming off. So
right, yes. But have a good diet.
Yeah,
it won't even be a problem in the first place.
Okay, one more question: squat, bench press, deadlift, and overhead press. Lifelong goals for those 4 lifts. How heavy?
Well, I don't really care about the overhead press.
Oh, okay.
As much. I think I've done a 185. I'm pretty sure I've done 185. That was with the, what's that called, the log?
Yeah.
I did 185.
Okay.
With that log once. So I know I could probably do 200 now at least. Don't really care about it too much. It's fun at times. Lifelong goals, I guess for a squat, man, I think just... Honestly, it's not that much. Squatting 450, I'll be fine with that because that would be a little more than 2.5 times my body weight. I think 450.
Okay.
Or so.
Yeah.
I think bench press, benching in the 360, 370 would honestly be great because that would be twice my body weight. And then deadlifting 600 plus, I think.
Okay.
I could do that one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the 600-pound deadlift actually for your size, but I think for the squat, because of how athletic you are, you could easily do 500.
I think squatting in the mid 400s is pretty. I don't care if you're in front of like professional powerlifters or not professional powerlifters. I feel like it's a pretty respectable number for your body weight.
Yes.
In the mid 400s.
Yes.
No matter who you are, I feel like it's respectable.
I would agree with that. But do you want respectable, or do you want?
He probably wants others
to be thought of as a god amongst men.
I want to be athletic because I know by the time if I'm squatting 500 or something, my legs are going to be super big.
Not necessarily, man.
My genetics.
There are people a lot smaller than you who have squatted 500 pounds.
Yes. When I was squatting 400, my legs were a little bit bigger than this.
Well.
And I want to continue, as I said, to stay athletic and be able to play any sport. I want to be able to sprint and run and jump when I'm 40 years old.
Thunder thighs don't help with running and jumping.
No, they don't. I can speak from personal experience. Remember when we did that sprint?
Yeah.
We were filming a video? Yeah. That was an interesting experience. It's like, what is this sprinting? I've not sprinted in 5 years. Technically two bad knees, but only one that I think would actually prevent me from running. Plus, gaining 100 plus pounds will do a number on your ability to move through space.
That does a lot, and people don't necessarily realize how much that does.
Which is part of the reason I'm trying to drop the extra weight now. But yeah, I think you could squat 500 and you could probably bench 400.
One day.
Before it's all said and done.
One day.
Because you're going to keep getting older, and as you get older, you're going to get fatter. But you're also going to...
That depends on your diet.
Now, here's the thing. We were talking about earlier, you were talking about reaching your genetic potential, or so to speak, in sprinting.
Yes.
I've heard plenty of people say that a lot of men will not reach their athletic, or strength potential until they're in their late 20s or early 30s.
That's true.
And after about 35, this is when it definitely is going to start declining. And I mean, obviously there are outliers. There are some people who won't peak till they're 40, and some.
And then there's others like Jack LaLanne who,
Who? What do you do?
Swam back from Alcatraz with the tugboat.
Oh yeah,
kicking his feet only in his
yeah.
mouth.
I didn't realize that's who that was.
Dude was
I don't know
72 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
It was from like the 50s.
Uh-huh. So, if you're still, 27?
27.
Yeah. So, same age as me, and I feel like definitely by the time you're like 35, you're going to like start getting that old man strength, and you're going to be able to bench 400. No problem.
I think so, and by the time maybe I'll have a kid and they, bring that kid to the gym, get him started young,
Mm-hmm.
And show them how to bench press 400.
Yeah.
Like, all right, here we go, 50-pound PR. Yeah, I think that with strength, I feel like that's why a lot of people who played a lot of sports their entire life, and now they're done with college sports or even professional sports. What do they end up doing? Powerlifting or bodybuilding or something, because weightlifting is a sport that anyone can do, because sports like track and field and stuff, if you're not fast, if you're a sprinter, if you're not fast,
you're not nothing,
right? You don't belong to this team.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone can. It could be a guy.
Or if you're not a certain height, you really can't play basketball,
right?
Unless you're a
Spud
master
Webb.
of. Well, I was going to say, unless you're a master of absolute, 3-point shots from the backside.
Yeah.
All the way over.
Because, they have powerlifting meets and anyone can come and partake in that. You have guys who, my weight category, who squat 200 pounds less than me and they're hitting PRs, but they're, they're out there, they're getting better, and people are supporting them and stuff. So, it's a whole different world of support that you can get from, whether it's CrossFit, which I don't recommend, or powerlifting or calisthenics or whatever it might be, you get a whole different support from this sport.
The sport of CrossFit has been called the washed up loser Olympics, and like I tend to agree with that in some ways, but at the same time, I don't necessarily know that should be derogatory, because it's kind of true even for powerlifting or sometimes bodybuilding. I think with bodybuilding, you can go to the gym, and train for bodybuilding, but if you're ever going to compete in the sport of bodybuilding, that takes some level. It takes steroids and it takes some level of genetics, just like height and speed does.
Yeah.
So I'd say the entry point for bodybuilding even is still pretty high. But like Malcolm's saying, anyone can anyone can powerlift and enter a powerlifting meet. There's a very low barrier of entry for those sports.
It's can you pick up a bar?
I don't think there's a barrier.
Can you pick up a bar?
Yeah, as you said.
Can you pick up a 20-kilogram bar? Can you squat it? Can you bench it? Can you deadlift it? That's all it takes. So it's just, what was my point?
It's accessible for everyone. There's, it's...
so there are going to be a lot of people that will try a sport and fail. For myself, I had the longest dream for a long time of becoming an NBA basketball player. And I just slowly but surely, of course, found out that I was not going to be gifted in that. So I stopped, aiming for that, and rightfully so, because I don't have this. I don't have the speed. I don't have the quickness, and I don't have the height. If I had two of those three, I might be okay.
You can make it up with great shots.
Because I'm 6'2". If I had speed and quickness, I could be a point guard and be fine. But I don't. I lumber around. Even when I was smaller, because when I was playing basketball, I weighed like low 200s, and even then I wasn't fast. I maybe had a quick first step or something, but
no,
you don't think I had a quick first step?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, or if I had the height and the speed, then I'd be a forward. Obviously, if you're 7 foot tall, you don't really need much speed or quickness, but it helps.
Yeah.
And
we can't all be Shaq.
Right. So, definitely one of those things where a lot of people are, in their younger years, are going to play different sports, trying to make it in that sport. And more often than not, much more often than not, they will not do anything outside of high school with that sport. And you're going to need some athletic outlet once you're done with that. A lot of people will just go play pickup basketball, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But then, you also get people who go to play pickup basketball and they still think that they're
tough stuff
getting, pretty much, and they think that they're gonna get a college scholarship even though they're playing in a gym with literally no one cares except them what happens. So that's always really funny to see. No, definitely powerlifting, strongman, very low barrier entry, so they can be great sports for just the average man. Because anyone can participate. Yeah. I think that's another reason why golf, so many people play golf, even though it's expensive, is because it doesn't take much to play golf. It's another big factor is the fact that you can powerlift and golf and such by yourself, but basketball, football, volleyball,
they all take a team.
You have to have a team.
And you at least have to have an opponent.
And a court to play on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
golf, you still need the course, but you can do it by yourself.
Right.
I mean, to run track, you gotta race against someone, or run by yourself, unless you're training.
But it's like, how many times did, when we were in college, try to get a pickup game of basketball together, and it was like pulling teeth, actually getting people to play. And there was always like one or two guys on campus who were like the guy who could get everyone together to play. But if like one of us or someone else who were like that top dog tried to get everyone together and was just kind of like, but as soon as the other guy was like,
hey man, let's go, everyone's like,
yeah. All right, Malcolm, one more time, where if someone wants to get in contact with you and talk to you, where do they contact you at?
You can contact me on Instagram, Coach M Dias, Dias.
Okay.
And ask away whatever you want to ask, I guess.
Is there anything else or just Instagram?
Instagram's fine.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, private man.
No emails, that's too much.
All right, well, you can send us an email at heroic.barbell.training at gmail.com if you have questions, and we will answer them for you. Thank you all for watching, and please like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel because we need more subscribers. So do us a favor and just click that little red button down there that says subscribe. I'm not even going to ask you to hit the notification bell because I don't use notifications on my subscriptions. But what I do with YouTube is I use it like a Netflix, basically. So I have a subscriptions page and it tells me when new episodes come out of whatever channel I like to watch. Right. And then I pick one. That way you won't get a notification when we do new podcasts, but you can just look at it at your leisure and decide when you want to watch it.
It pops up on your main page.
How so?
Algorithm.
Yeah, it's a stupid algorithm. So if you subscribe and you don't do anything with the bell icon, it just it picks those that it thinks are relevant. So if you watch a bunch of bodybuilding videos, and for whatever reason you stumble across this channel and you hit subscribe and you don't change the bell icon, unless we put something out that the algorithm thinks is related to bodybuilding stuff and whatever your other interests are, it's probably not going to recommend a video. I mean, it'll tell you when a new one's out.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the subscriptions page, of course.
Right, which is what I'm saying I do.
Right.
I always check the subscriptions page first when I'm trying to use YouTube.
Probably, and most people don't use it like that.
I know.
So it probably won't show up on the recommended at all.
So what I'm telling you all to do is completely change the way you use your YouTube, how you use your streaming services.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
I'm telling you that your behavior is bad and wrong and that you should stop.
Your behavior is bad and wrong. You should stop.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time on the Heroic Barbell Podcast. See you later.